Welcome to this Java Spring Boot framework. Yes, if you are a Java developer, you must learn about the Spring Boot framework. So this crash course is going to take you from what Spring Boot framework is, how you can get started with this, and taking you to the journey of creating a RESTful API with all the CRUD part in this Spring Boot framework. Now, before moving forward, I just want to clear one thing, which is like there is two things. One is a Spring, another is a Spring Boot. Now, what is a Spring Boot? If we have a Spring as a framework, so in the Spring framework, if you really want to use Spring framework for your web applications, then you may need to create a lot of configuration, which is not easy to configure. So what they thought, like the people behind the Spring framework, they thought that let's make an enhancement of Spring and let's call it Spring Boot, especially for the web app applications and related things. So that's why if in this crash course, if I say Spring or if I say Spring Boot, I'm basically going to say and basically going to talk about the Spring Boot. Now, what we are going to create in this tutorial, in this crash course, we are going to create a simple CRUD application for the customer. So I have used this Insomnia, and you can see I have this localhost 8080/customer. Now my Spring Boot application is running on this localhost 8080. So when you go with the GET request on the /customer, and if you send this, then you will see these two data, and this database is actually saved inside the MySQL database. So let's go to the terminal, and I have already logged in into my MySQL, and if I show you all the databases, you can see I have a Spring Boot DB. So I say use Spring Boot DB, so something like this, and after that I can show you the tables. So show tables, and you can see we have the customer table and the Hibernate sequence table. The more important thing is customer table. So let's select everything from customer, and yes, we can see we have a two data. Now go to the Insomnia and let's create another customer in our database. So for that we are going to use the post method, and let's call it the new customer as Anki, and Anki as at bitfunes.com. Now click on send, and you can see the new customer is here, and we can verify from here. If we say select everything from customer, we will have another customer entry in our database with the ID of 4. That's really cool. But let's once again go and suppose we want to delete this user or customer from the database. So then we are going to use the delete method, and in that case we need to apply, or we need to provide the ID for the customer which we want to remove. Now if we go and get all the customers, you will see yes, we are getting 3 details, but if we try to delete one with the ID of 4, the last one which we have created, you can see we are not getting any response, but it's successful. 200, okay, that means successful. So let's get back, and this time we are back with the 2 customers in our database. Now we can also fetch a single customer detail by getting the ID as here and then send, and customer with the ID of 1 not found. This is a really customized exception error which we have created, because otherwise you will get gibberish and not readable, a non-readable Spring Boot error, which is very difficult to read. But this error is the error we have created in this application by using the error handling in the Spring Boot. Okay, so what if we go with the ID of 2, and yes, we can see we have the entry and we are getting data. All these things is done in this short little crash course for Spring Boot, and you can see we have all the application coding which is following the proper pattern for Spring Boot. The exception class and every class is there. So I think you are excited to learn about the Spring Boot framework, and here I am to tell you what Spring Boot is and how you can get it started. I hope you are going to like this video, you are going to like this crash course, and if so, then hit thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to Bitfume's YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you want. Let's start this crash course. If you are a Java developer or if you want to learn Java, this framework is extremely important in your life, the Spring, or sometimes called Spring Boot. So Spring framework for Java is really amazing, and obviously it's extensively used in the industry. As we all know that Java is so popular, and so its framework is. So we are going to start with a Spring crash course, and this is going to give you everything you need to get started with the Spring framework. So as it says, why you need to learn the Spring framework. Spring makes programming Java quicker, easier, and safe. Yes, if you are going to use this Spring, you will not feel like writing a Java. You will feel some powerful thing you are having in your hand, and you are creating lots of amazing thing, because this Spring is everywhere. You can use you will see that this is used in streaming TVs, online shopping, and other websites including Alibaba, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Everyone is using it. It's very flexible. It has a lot of amazing concepts like inversion of control, dependency injections, and much more. It's super fast, and it's really productive as a developer experience. And it's not a normal framework, it's super secure. As we know, Java is super secure thing, and so its framework is. And with the awesome community, you can learn and ask question on this Spring framework. Not only that, you can create microservice, reactive, cloud application, web application, serverless application, event driven application, and take the automated task using the batches and much more things with this Spring. So why just waste time on these things? Let's now work on the practical stuff. So for that, you just need to go to the spring.io. Like this is the website, and then you can click on this quick start, or you can go to the learn and then go to the quick start. Then how you can create your first ever Spring project? You just need to go on step 1, and it says that you want to use this kind of interface. But where we can get this interface? You need to go to this website. See, start.spring.io. This is used to create a web project, and also it has ability to add more of the you can say dependencies thing. Okay, so that's good. I have opened this in a new tab, and here we are. So see, first it says you need to select which kind of project you want, Maven project or Gradle project. Don't worry about this, just select Maven. And which language? Obviously Java, not Kotlin, not Groovy. Then which version of a Spring Boot you want to use. So I'm going to use the 2.6.7, which is the stable one. Others are not stable, or some are older. Okay, then what name you want to give to your project? So next we can give some name, but let's keep whatever it is. So here we have example artifact demo, name demo, but the important thing is what kind of packaging you want. You want jar or var. Let's choose the jar, and the Java version. So 18th is the latest version, so let's have it. But if you go on very important thing, which is this documentation, it says that on the dependency you need to add the web dependency. Okay, then only your project is going to work in terms of a web application. So I will click on this add dependency, and here you will see that we have a Spring Web. This is the real important thing. So let's have this one here. Everything is now set up. Click on generate to have a new project in our application, in our system. Let's click, and it's now generating, now asking for the download, and I'm downloading on my desktop. Here we are, demo, and now you can see this demo is here. So I'm just going to double click to unzip this one, and since I have this demo directory, I will move this in my directory where I have all the things related to my crash course. Now, since we have this, I'm going to open the IntelliJ IDE. So if you are not aware of this, IntelliJ IDE is really amazing, and it's very useful in Java coding because it has very nice auto suggestion and everything. You can click on download and download the community version if you don't have if you don't want to buy the ultimate version. Ultimate version has some more benefits, but community is really good. So I have it and I'm going to open this one, and this is started. Now it says that, do you want to open new project? So I said yes, I want to open new project. Click on open, then go to where you have your demo project. So select this directory and click open, and now this is going to open it. See, we have left bar where we have directory structure. Then here, this is very important thing going on, syncing the demo. This is doing and actually installing some of the dependencies if you want. So let's have here, we have some files, directories, but the very important file is pom.xml. So pom is really great, and we will talk about other files and directory later, but let's open the pom, and inside this pom XML file, we have all the dependencies for this application. Here you will see that on the dependencies, we have obviously the Spring framework, and this is the Spring Boot Starter Web, and then we have Spring Boot Starter Test, then Maven plugin, and all these things are already there. By the way, if you are getting some red color on anywhere, just press Command and N and click on the add dependency, and whatever dependency become red, just search here and click on add, like here. Okay, so since we don't have any red line here, everything is fine. Let's open the source directory. Click here, click on main, click on Java, and then we find this demo application. So click on this demo application, and you can see, now close the sidebar, you can see we have this class, and then we have this function, the main function we have here, like this. Okay, so in this main function, as we know, if you are aware of Java, the main function automatically run when you run this class. It says that Spring application dot run, and running which application? Demo application dot class, this one with the argument we are providing. Okay, so this Spring application is here, and it's coming from our organization org spring framework.boot.spring application. And from where this is coming? This is coming, you know, from the dependency. Remember, these are all the dependencies we have. Then we need some annotation, and this is a Spring Boot application annotation, which tells our Java that, hey, this is going to be the Spring Boot application. So now let's click on this green button to run this application for the first ever, and we have run it. And now we will see that something is going on here, and then our server will get started on localhost 8080. So you can see it says that your server is listening on the port 8080 on your local machine. So let's go to the browser, open a new tab, say localhost 8080, and boom, something is here. We are getting this white labeled error page, and this says that this application has no explicit mapping for error. So you are seeing this is as a fallback. This is simply saying that you don't have any routing, you don't have any pages, nothing is there in your Spring Boot application. So let's now move into the next video and see how we can change this page and add some more things in our application. See you in the next video. In the last video, we are on this page. Let's move to the new big thing in Spring. So we will go and first close this starter or initializer, and then we will go to the second step on add your code. Now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to add some of the things in our application like REST controller. We want to make this class as a REST controller. Then we will add a get mapping for /hello, and then we will add this method to see what we are doing, and then we will run it. Okay, So let's go to the application here and let's zoom out, close this one, and then here just below this Spring Boot application, I'm going to say act with a capital R REST controller and hit enter. Just by hitting enter, you can see now this REST controller is imported from our Spring framework.web.bind.annotation.rest controller. If by chance you are not getting it, you need to add this manually, and don't worry, you don't have to write it, just copy from here like this. Okay, next what we need to do, we need to create a function called hello, and then it should return some string. So we are not following exactly this thing, so let's see how we can go. Just after this main function, I'm going to create a public, a static, and is this going to return a string? It's a public string, not a static. So although we need to follow some things, public string hello, and this is going to return string dot, do we see string dot format, string dot format, and it will be like this with a semicolon. We need to say hello %s, hello %s exclamation, and then I will say world. But remember, we have to do some more things here. Let's zoom out a little bit and see. We have to add this at the rate get mapping / hello annotation here, and obviously we need to import this get application get mapping from here. Okay, so we will go above this string hello function. I'm going to say at with a capital G get method or get mapping. Inside that I'm going to provide / hello, and once again, if this is not imported by default on the top, then you need to add it manually. Cool, everything looks good. Yes, we are not following each and everything, we will add all other things later, but let's see what we are getting right here right now. Just by doing this, after that, yes, we can run from here, or we have another option of running, so that we will get this kind of little nice Spring logo or whatever we call it. But for that we need to go inside this directory and run Spring Boot run. Okay, so instead of using the terminal here, the terminal of this IntelliJ, I'm going to open the terminal for my application directly, and here I am, and then I will say full code, copy, paste, run it, and then you will see that we are doing something. Not we, actually the Spring framework is doing something, and yeah, we have this Spring logo, nice Spring logo, and then at the last it says something. So it says that port 8080 already in use, and this can happen when I run this previously just for testing, and it has not released the port 8080. So we can change the port, and to change the port of our application, we can just go to the sidebar, go to the resources, and then application.properties. This is the empty file, and we just need to say server.port is equal to whatever port you want to use. I'm going to use 8081 and just save this file, and let's go once again and try to run this application and see how this is going to work. So something is happening here. Maybe what we need, we can try to run the application from here, and then we will run it again from that side. Okay, so this is running in from this IntelliJ, and we can try this, and 8081 is working. Cool. So I'm going to stop this from this button, stop demo application, click on stop. It has stopped, close it, and now let's try from this terminal, and this should work this time. And yes, it's working, and everything is good. Let's go and reload this page. That's good. But what about this hello we have created? This is a route we have created, the get route, or you can say slash hello. So instead of just localhost 8081, we need to say 8081 slash hello. So just by doing this, we can say slash, let me zoom this for you, slash hello. And if I hit enter, you can see we are getting hello world. So instead of doing this hello world directly from like spring.format and returning hello world, we have some more thing in our application. So what are the things? Let's go here and go on the step 2. Step 2 says that you can also get some parameters for value and default value, something like that. So it says that request parameter can be name and default value can be world, and it's on the string name. Okay, so whatever we get on this request parameter, we call this as a name variable with a type of string. Let's try this thing. So we are on hello function, and then inside this I'm going to say request parameter or param, just request param. Request param is going to have a value of name and then default value as world, and then we are going to call this thing as a string name. Now this name variable we are having in our hand, so we can just replace this world with the name instead of the hard-coded world. Now what's going to happen here? Let's see on our browser. We have saved this application. Let's go reload this application. We are still having world because of this world we have, or maybe we need to restart our server. So let's just restart our server and see what's going to happen here. So server is restarted and it should, yeah, now this time you can see that the world we have is with small w. Now what's going to happen here? Let's go on the what is this on this documentation, and it says that localhost 8000 hello and request parameter should be there. So now I'm going to say question mark with the name as Sarthak, hit enter, and you can see we are getting Sarthak as the hello Sarthak. So how that happened? Because I said that parameter name is having the value of Sarthak. So what parameter we have defined? Let's just recap it. We said that there should be a parameter with the name of name, and its default value is world. If nothing is there, then you use world, and we call it name as a variable, and the type of variable is a string. Then we have used it here. So this kind of mapping you can create like anywhere and any times you want, and this is how you get started with your first ever get mapping. So let's continue the Spring framework in next video. Now we need to work upon very important thing. See, we have this get mapping for hello and it's working fine when we reload in our browser. But what if we change from hello to test? Now if I save this file, if I go, still hello is working, and if we try the test, it says this is not any mapping. There is no get mapping for test. This has happened because the server has the old configuration. For that, for these changes to be taken effective, we need to restart our server. And doing this every time you make changes is not a good thing. So now you can see hello is not going to work, instead test is going to work. For that, for making this hot reload or reloading thing every time you save your application, we need to add one more dependency. So just open this pom.xml file, double click here, and here you will see a lot of dependencies are there. So we have, but we need to add one more dependency. There are various ways to open the add dependency system here. or you can directly, if you know, you can directly copy and paste it. So first is just click on this file anywhere and press Command N to have this kind of like a drop down, and then click on add dependency, or just go back. Here at the bottom you will see there is a dependencies tab. If you don't have it, yes, you can use the Command N and click on add dependency. Okay, now here you will see there is a little search bar available. Yep, like this. So just click there and search for Spring Boot Dev Tool. Okay, so now you can see it's searching. Actually we have this one, Spring Framework, not this one. This is from GitLab. We need the Spring Boot from Spring Framework. So just go and click here, add. Now you can see it's added right here on our dependencies. Once you made any changes in pom.xml file, you will see this kind of icon, which is going to say that, hey, you need to reload. So just click on this and it will resolve all the dependency. That means if there is no dependency available, it will download it. You can also right click on the pom.xml file and go to the Maven, and then you can say rebuild project. This is the same thing. Once you have this, then you will try to run this application, run and stop and rerun. You will see that this is not going to work till now because we have to do little changes in our application. So here it's test, and now if I change to hello, and you can see I'm saving it, but it's not taking effect. What you have to do, you need to go to the setting for this IntelliJ. I will press Command comma, and then I will go to the advanced setting. It's very important to go here on the advanced setting and click on this allow auto make to start even developed application is currently running. Just hit here, check this one, click on apply, and then press OK. One more time, if you see it's not working, because another thing we need to configure is go to the build compiler and then check this one, which is called build project automatically. So these two settings you have to do on your application, and once you're done with this, just restart last time, and after this your project will be auto reloaded every time you save your application when there is a changes. So we are on the hello and we make it test, we save this file, and you can see it's compiled, restarted main, and then hello is not going to work, test is going to work. What if we change it hello to back to hello, and we go here? It's taking a little time. So you can see now test is not working, but hello is working. Cool. So this is how you make changes. Every time you do it, it's going to affect it here, and very soon we will be having the most updated you can say the application. That's good. Now let's move to the next topic and see how we can work with Spring Boot in the next video. Now so far we have learned this Spring Boot from this website and the learn stuff, the quick guide and the Spring initializer, but there is more elegant way, a developer friendly way, I can say. So for that you just need to go on the homepage for the Spring Boot and then go to the Spring Boot section for the project. Here you will find the learn tab, and inside you have this reference guide. Now this reference guide is really amazing. It will teach you from very scratch, and that's the thing we are going to do. So what exactly we are going to do is just going here on our project, and on the sidebar we can see we have this pom.xml file. I'm going to remove this file, so let's delete this. Yes, I'm going to delete target, source, .mvn. idea, help, mvn, whatever it is, and each and everything I am going to delete because I want to start from scratch. So now in my project I just have this dot ignore git dot git ignore actually, and it is needed because I don't want to push non-essential things to the repository. So this git is having this target and this .idea folder and some of other things. So now since the directory structure is cleaned, we don't have any file. Let's go and see how we can get started with this guide. This is really great. So for that you just need to go on this get started, directly on the get started part, because we have already done various things, and scroll down till we have the developing your first. So developing your first Spring Boot application, this is very important. You can also follow some of the other things, but this is really great. So as we know, we need to first check for Java version and then MVN version. So let's first check for Java version. So if I go on the terminal and just check for Java version, and yes, we have the 18th version. That's cool. And which version of MVN I have? So MVN the version, and you can see I have Apache Maven 3.8.5. Cool. But if you don't have this MVN, then you can download it via Brew if you are on Mac, but if you are on Windows you need to do some other things. So just say MVN download, and here we are, download Apache Maven 3.8.5, which I just showed you on my terminal. There are many packages you can download, unzip it and follow the instruction. That's cool. And if you are on Mac, that's easy with the Brew install MVN. So once you have the MVN in your system, then first thing you have to do is create a pom.xml file. We already know we need this file, but since we are starting from very scratch, this is the thing we need to follow. So let's copy each and everything and let's create a file here. So I will create a new file and I'm going to say pom.xml. This file is created, and let's paste each and everything whatever we have here. So now we have done with this, and it says Maven build script found. So now as soon as we have added these things, now this IntelliJ is detecting it and it says that, hey, you have some Maven related things. Do you want to load the project? So I can say load Maven project, and you can see now the icon has changed to M and it's now detected. Cool. So let's close this Maven section. Now what the documentation says, after this it says that you need to run MVN package, and let's see what's going to happen when we run it. Open the terminal. In the terminal I will say MVN package and let's run it, and it has done some of the things, but here you will see it says jar will be empty, no content. That's okay, but it's just have only one thing in the info section, which is building jar for this thing. Cool, nothing else. And this is what it says, you just have no content warning. That's it. But after that you need to try running MVN dependency tree. Now what this is doing, when we run MVN package it will detect the Maven, but when we run this line which is MVN dependency tree, so it will check on our pom.xml for any dependency and it will install it. For now, since we don't have any dependency, let's run and see what's going to happen. So now in this section it says that the dependency you have is only one, com.example.myproject and snapshot, whatever it is, but just only one. Now let's add some more dependency on this project. So I'm going to first install a Spring Boot starter web. You know, we have done it when we used the Spring initializer, and this one, Spring Boot starter web, include various things like Tomcat for web server and various other things. So let's copy this thing from here and go to the pom.xml, and just after this parent, paste it. Now we have done this, and as soon as we change something in pom.xml, we will get this kind of icon. We can click it right here, or we can right click on the pom.xml file, go to the Maven and click on reload project. So you can do anything. So I'm just going to click this one and it will going to install everything. And what after this? After this, it says that let's try to run this dependency tree once again. Okay, on the terminal, let's run it, and this time you will see a lot of dependency we have. So not just this one, we have Spring Boot starter web, and then we have auto configure, logging, classic core, log4j, and lots of other things. Cool. So we are moving forward, and next thing is the Maven is going to compile the source from source src main and Java. That means the real file, the Java file we are going to create, should be inside source main Java directory structure. So let's create my application.java file and see what's going to happen. So once again, I'm on this project. Oops, little bit zoom out. Yeah. So on this demo project, I'm having and right click and create a Java file. But this Java file I want to create inside a directory. So first I need to create a directory. So let's create a directory, and directory name is source main and Java. So see, this IntelliJ is very intelligent, and it says that do you want this kind of structure? So I said yes, and then I just need to say enter. And you can see source main and Java is there, and let's now create a new file, a Java file inside this Java directory. So my application.java. Okay, so see, my application class is created. Inside this, we always create public static void main and then string args, and after that we can do something. Now this is we have done its normal Java steps. What special about Spring Boot? Let's go to the documentation. It says that when you have done with this, then you need to start your Spring application by using Spring application dot run, and running which class? The class we have initialized, the my application dot class, with the arguments we have provided. Let's run it. So here I will say Spring application, oops, not Spring like this, Spring, what's that? It's a string, not, oh god. Okay, so Spring application dot run. Inside this I'm going to use my application dot class, the same application, my application class, where we are writing these things, comma args, and that's done, and with a semicolon. Everything is done. Now let's try to run this, but instead of running from this green tab, this time I'm going to run from MVN, and you can see we have this running example. So if you go, we just need to say MVN Spring Boot :run. Copy this line and try to run it and see what's going to happen. So we are running it, and you see it says some error, because it says that hey, you have created a Java class, you are starting a Spring application, but I can't find this class as a Spring related class. We don't have any configuration. How I can start the server, how I can configure everything? For that we need to use many decorators. Okay, so let's get back with this one. Here we have, now you can see we have two decorators. One is a REST controller, another is the enable auto configure. Okay, so let's add these two and then talk one by one. So first, enable auto configuration. So just above this my application, I will say enable auto configuration, and it's coming from obviously the spring framework.boot.autoconfigure. And once we have done this, then if we try to run it once again, it will not going to give that error. Maybe it can give another error, but you can see the server is started on 8080. So let's try localhost 8080, and we are getting the same kind of page which we had when we used the starter kit spring initializer. Now, so it says that you have used the enable auto configuration, which is responsible for telling the Spring Boot to guess all the configuration related to our starter Spring Boot starter web, which is for Tomcat, the Spring MVC auto configuration that include the web application and set up Spring accordingly. So this enable auto configuration is really important. If you want to learn more about this, you can just just press command and click on that, and you can see a lot of other things. So you have documentation, inherited, auto configure package, importing some of the things, and much more. Good. So we have another thing. Let's go back, and this is the thing called string home, returning some string, and another decorator called request mapping. Let's add this and then we will talk about it. So let's create a string hello and return hello world once again. But above this function, I'm going to say request mapping, and I'm going to give slash. Is this good? Yep. Now this is done, and what this one is doing, whenever we use any request mapping above any function, that function is now considered as a part of the routing system. So when we say request mapping and we provide the slash, that means on the base part, on the base URL, what we are returning this hello world. On this, you can see we have mapping for the routings. We can define the methods also, what kind of method we need, either it is get, put, post. So remember last time we used the get mapping. So get mapping is actually going to use, let's say something like this. Get mapping is using this request mapping. So that's the same thing. Okay, we are on the request mapping and we are done. Now let's restart this and see. Terminate. Once again run MVP Spring Boot run. This is running application, and let's try to see. On the slash, nothing is there. Still we are not getting it. Why? What happened? Remember one thing we have not yet added, which is this REST controller. Now what is a REST controller thing? Everything is given here in this documentation. So we need to annotate this REST controller, which is the stereotype annotation. It provides hint for people reading the code, obviously for us like developers, but also for the Spring framework, for the Spring to play a specific role of controller. Now what does the controller do? Controller is a middleman, you can say, which do the controlling of the request and response. So it is in the middle of each and everything. So that's why we need to use a REST controller. Now why the REST controller? Because we are creating a RESTful API. We just want to return some string or JSON file, not a view, like not a HTML. So that's why above this enable auto configuration, we need to say @REST controller. Just by adding this, if we restart our server, we will see that yep, hello world is here on our browser. And this has happened just because of these combinations. The combination of REST controller, which is telling to the Spring that, hey, this class is a type of controller, The response body we will give is going to be just a string or JSON, not a view basically. And after that, we have enable configuration for setting up of each and everything like Tomcat server and other different things. Then we have request mapping. The annotation of request mapping is for which route you want to access or you want to run this function. So we are done with various things, and next important thing is creating an executable jar. Let's do this in the next video. Now we have seen how we can start from very scratch, from zero, and adding things as we need. But creating an executable jar is really important. So how we can do that? For that, we actually need to add this plugin in our dependencies. And where we add the dependency? We add in the pom.xml file. So let's copy this one and open the pom.xml file, which is here. And now after this dependencies section, let's add this plugin. And as we know, whenever we do changes in the pom.xml file, we need to click on this button. Let's click, and it's done. After this, we need to run this mvn package once again so that it will have each and everything. Let's run mvn package, which is done. And now finally we will be able to run the jar executable file. So click on this target. We have this my project 01.jar something jar. Let's open this with the finder. Finder is here, and we got this jar file. So let's open the terminal here, and I will just say java-jar and the project name. Let's run it, and you can see it's starting the server right from here by executing this jar file. And we have no server running, we have no running application. There is a running application, so let's close this run application. That's a good thing, I checked it. Actually we have nothing here in our IntelliJ, just the server from here. Okay, let's just restart it. Maybe I just want to be sure that each and everything is fine. And after this, let's see on the 8080 port what we are getting. So on the 8080, yes, we are getting hello world. And if we terminate this one, this means it's going to terminate this. Cool. So this is how you can add, or you can create the executable jar file with the dependency, with the package we have added. So you can use this line which I have already used. So let's move in the next section to understand various amazing things in Spring Boot. So now we understand how this Spring Boot framework works, but we need to create a REST API. A RESTful API is very common in web world to have the access for all the CRUD part, for creating, reading, delete, update, and all sorts of things. And we will create all the endpoint, different types of endpoint. So how we will start with that? So for that, I'm going to start with a new package in Java. So what I will do, I will just right click here and click on new, and I will click on package, and then I will give the name of the package as let's say customer. Okay, now when you create a package, you will see this kind of directory is created, and inside this directory, what we generally do, we start with a fresh application. So my application is the obviously starting point for our demo project, but we will not going to use this one. We will create our own application and we will call it customer application. So customer application, something like this, you can see, and this is a simple Java class, and let's create it. So remember, on the my class we have added these two things. We said that this is going to be a REST controller, and this is going to use all the default configuration of our Spring Boot framework. But now in our customer application, we will add a new annotation which is called Spring Boot application. This is actually a single thing which will going to help us adding all of the things we need, like enable auto configuration and the controller thing, Spring Boot configuration. Each and everything we need is available here. So just after this, what we have to do, we just say public, not here, in a new line, public static void main, then string args, and here we say Spring Boot application dot it's like Spring application dot run and customer application dot class, and passing all the arguments. So this become our entry point for the Spring Boot framework. Now we have created this, but we will going to create a separate controller where we add all the HTTP things, the routings, where the endpoints will be available. So I'm going to create another file called customer controller. Okay, now since this is a controller and we said that we are going to use a RESTful controller, so we are going to create a RESTful API. So yes, we can use the REST controller. Okay, by the way, you can also use simply controller, and after that you can say response body. And this is actually same when you go on the REST controller, you will see response body and controller is there. So either you can use both, or you can define, let me close this one. Oh, why I cannot close? Strange. Anyways, either you can use both, or you can just say I just need the REST controller. So let's add REST controller, and here, as you know, we need a simple method here, and since this is going to be a customer controller, so this means we need the customers. So I want all customers. So this is going to be a function or a method, and this is for now returning string. So let's say return hello world. Okay, and that's it. But to make this accessible via HTTP routing, we need to add a get response or get mapping actually. And what should be the endpoint? It's a customer. Okay, so when I say customer, that means I'm calling all, the slash customer actually. Now how we can test this application? First we need to actually start our server. So how we start our application? We just go to our customer application, the entry point, and click on run, or you can use the terminal and we say the mvn Spring Boot run. But since we are interested in running this file, not the my application, let's use this green arrow. So I'm running this and see what's going to happen. Remember, we have already added this Spring Boot starter web, and for the hot restart we have Spring Boot dev tool. That means whenever we do any changes, it restarted the server. Okay, so server is started. Let's go on Insomnia. So I will search for Insomnia. Oops, not here. Insomnia, and inside this we have localhost 8080, and then we say /customer, and we have created a get mapping. So this means when I go to our customer controller, we can see the get mapping is there for customer. So we can send the get request on this URL and click on send. You can see we are getting hello world, and this is really cool that we can see on our Insomnia that we have created this thing. But since we are interested in creating customer details, we don't want just a string to return. What we want a customer class which is going to hold all the information related to customer. So now again, let's create a simple class for customer, and we are going to define like private name of the customer, and private email, that means email of the customer. But we need to define the type, so it's a string type and it's also a string type. Since we have created these two and these are private variables, we need to create our getter and setter. For IntelliJ, it's very nice, easy. I just want to hold Alt for the Windows and Mac option and then hit enter. You can see we get this kind of interface, and here it says create getter and setter. Let's click here and we got this getter and setter for the name. Similar to this, we can also do getter and setter for the email. That's really great. Now we can use this customer class to return instead of this string. So let's do this. I want to say return new customer, and this customer need two things. First is going to be the name, so let's say Sarthak, and second is going to be the email, so sarthak@bitfumes.com. Now since we are passing these two when we instantiate the class, this means we need to create a constructor which is going to accept these two values and add to our variables we have here. So let's create a constructor by pressing Ctrl and enter, and it's asking for the controller. You can use these two, you can say variables or customer properties to initialize on the customer constructor. So public constructor, and this is there. Now it says one problem is there, which is because of this thing. It says something which is mark all return customer.customer. So what happened here is we are returning customer, but we said that this all method is going to return the string, which is not true. So we can say, hey, this is actually going to return the customer, and the error is gone. Everything is good. Let's go to the Insomnia and see what's going to happen. So it's the same localhost 8080/customer. If I click on send, you can see we are getting that object, and the important thing is it's all converted into JSON. This is the real power of Spring Boot framework, and you can see we are just returning this customer class, and the endpoint we get is the proper JSON of the content. That's really cool thing. Okay, so this is done, but we have just started our class. We want to use this information to store the data into the database. So we are going to use the H2 database, and to access with the database, we are going to use the JPA package, which is called Java Persistence API. So let's start with all these two and see how we can create a RESTful API in the next video. I said that I'm going to use the JPA package, which is called Java Persistence API. Now we need to add all the packages in our pom.xml file. So one way is that you can go to the dependencies section here and just search for this thing, Spring Boot Starter. Always remember, all the official package for the Spring Boot Starter start with the Spring Boot Starter and then your package name. So data JPA. This is here, and you can just click on the add for the JPA, which is going to add your repository or your dependency in your pom.xml file. Or if you really want the exact thing, if you don't know how you can search, go to Spring Initializer, click on add dependency and just search for JPA. Click on this, and once it is added, click on explore. Once you click on explore, it will give you the POM file, and inside this POM file you can copy like here, and after copy, like this is the one, so copy, and you can simply say, hey, I just want to paste it. Once you have done with this, you just need to click on this to load the changes in the Maven or in the POM file. So once that is done, you are ready to use the JPA things. How and where we are going to use it? So we want to tell to the Spring Boot that, hey Spring Boot, we are going to use this customer class as the entity for the JPA thing, for storing all this information into the database. So how we can tell to the Spring Boot that this is an entity? We need to open this class, and just above this class, let's have another annotation of entity. And this is basically coming from Java X persistence.entity, and this is not fully related to JPA, but we will use the JPA very soon. Now, since we have this entity here, how we can use it, right, like on our customer controller, and where we will be useful, where this will be useful. So for that, what we have to do, we have to go to the controller and see here inside this controller, we are using this. All things are good. Let's go to the insomnia and click on send. It's doing the same thing. No issue, nothing. But what if we want to create a new customer in our database? So for that, we will going to use the post mapping. In the post mapping, we will say when I go to the /customer, then let's create a save method. Inside this save method, I'm going to return the new customer. But how we will store the customer into the database? For that, we will going to create a customer repository interface. And why interface? Because interface is going to be useful because we want to extend the JPA repository interface. Let's work on that. So right click, create a Java, call it customer repository, and this is going to be the interface, not a class. So I will say interface customer repository. This is going to extend JPA repository. Now this JPA repository, if you go inside it, it need two types. One is what is the entity type and what is the ID type. So we need to define both of these things. So let's add inside this angle bracket, we want to say that, hey, first is a customer. So customer is here, and this is the entity we have created, or simply the customer class. But what is the ID type for the customer? We didn't have the ID. Okay, so the type of ID is going to be the long type. Okay, now this is done. We don't have to do anything on this interface because it's extending the JPA repository, and this JPA repository is extremely useful. Why? Because in this repository, you can see we have all the method we need to fetch, to store, update, delete the customer from the database. So find all by ID, save all, save, each and everything is available there. Cool. So we are done with this repository, but as we said, we need a ID of the type long in the customer entity. So this means let's move to the customer entity. On the customer class here, we have to create another private variable called ID, and we said that this is going to be long, and that's it, I think. And remember, whenever we create a private thing, we need to create a getter and setter. So getter and setter for the ID is there. Cool. So everything is there, and what it says on the customer controller says that, hey, oops, from here I can start. It says that what you are doing in this, it's incomplete thing. So what we want to do when we want to save anything, so we want to just say repository dot save. So whenever this class is created, we want to get the dependency, we want to get the customer repository as the dependency. So let's do this in the next video. Hey, I'm back with the camera, and now let's continue this Spring Boot post mapping. So we have created a post mapping for the /customer, and we said that this is going to be a save method which is going to return newly created customer. But we want to use the repository we have created in the last episode, which is called customer repository. So this customer controller is a simple class. So we can create a private customer repository variable, which is, we are going to call it as a repository only, or you can call it customer repository, but just to differentiate, the customer repository is the type and repository is the variable. But we want to create a constructor, and on this constructor I want to add the dependency for the customer repository. So instead of doing something like this, I just say customer repository is the repository which we want when you instantiate or when you create a new instance of this customer controller. And this is the thing which is going to be done by the Spring Boot. Spring Boot says that, okay, you said that when we create the customer controller, you want customer repository. Okay, I will find the class, I will instantiate that class and give you the instance here. So we don't have to do any other thing, and this is called the dependency injection, which is free for you in Spring Boot. Now we have the repository. So what we can do, we can say this dot repository, or simply we can say repository dot, see this, we have a lot of option for dealing with our entity. We have the customer entity, so we want to save, but what we want to save? We want to save the data we are going to send. So to get the data sent via HTTP, we need the request with a capital R, request body, and we call this body new customer. But we also need to define the type for the new customer variable, which is going to be the customer type. Okay, that's fine. So let's pass this customer controller when we create a new customer. Everything is cool, but what is the return type for this save method? It's also going to be a new customer. That's it. Yes, it's so simple. Create a post mapping with a slash customer. Define the return type for the method. You can call this method anything you want. Get the request body, define the type, here is the variable, pass this variable on the save method for the repository. That's it. This means when we are done with this, and we can see if we start the application, so we can start up our application, right click, click on this green button and it's going to start it. But as soon as we run the application, you can see on our terminal we are getting some error. An error is simple, that application failed to start. Why? Data source is not available. But simply the JPA, the Java Persistence API, which we are using in our repository here, it says that, okay, I'm going to save the new customer, but where should I save the new customer? You haven't told us where should we use. So it says that what you can do, this is not just a error message, it also give you some suggestion. Consider the following. If you want to embed the database, you can use the H2 database, SQL Derby, or put in the class path. So this means we are going to use this H2 database. Now, yes, we got that. We want to use the H2 database, but what exactly we need to give, or we need to search on this dependency? I told you, whenever you don't know about what dependency name, exactly what is the name of the dependency, you can go to the Spring Initializer and just click on add dependency and say H2, click on it. After clicking it, click on explore, and on the POM file you will find it. So my internet is not working. Okay, now it's connected. So once again I click on explore, it's going to load the POM file, and here you will see that, yeah, here we have this dependency for our H2 database. Copy this from here and go to our POM file, and inside the dependencies list, add it. After adding, you need to reload our application, a lot of zooming thing. Click for the Maven reload, everything is done, and let's once again see what's going to happen. Here we can click on this green button to start our application, or if you want, directly go the traditional way, click on the main and see what's going to happen. So let's wait for this to complete, and we will see if we are getting any error or not. We are getting some different kind of error, because now it says that okay, you have the database, but there is some error. The error says that here, to display the condition report, rerun your application with debug mode, or it simply says that hey, application failed to run. What is the problem? Entity manage factory. Entity manage factory. There is some kind of factory which is managing the entity. And what is the entity in our case? The customer entity. So there is some problem with the customer thing. It says that the define invocation of init method. That means when you start this customer entity, no identifier is specified. Identifier means ID, but we have this ID. Okay, we have the ID field, but we haven't told to our JPA that this, or we haven't told our Spring Boot that this ID is the real ID field or the identifier field for our customer entity. So what we have to do? We just have to add an annotation of ID with a capital ID from Java persistence. And after this, once again click on the green button to start our application and see if we have any other error or not. So this is good. We are running the application with the defining the ID, annotation of ID, and I think it says that application is started with no error. Wow, that's really great. So on the customer controller, we have this post mapping where we have to create the customer. Let's see how we can do that. So go to the Insomnia, change the get method to post method. It's going to be the slash customer, that's fine. But this time we want to send some data, and data is going to be name is equal to Sarthak, and email is going to be sarthak@bitfumes.com. Cool. This is done. Now I just want to click on send and see if we get any error or it is still going to be successful. Yeah, let's click on send. We get some error. This is not so friendly, so I can see on the terminal, because terminal provide me a better error. So I can find, and it says that IDs for the class must be manually assigned before calling save. So what it says that, see, we are providing name and email. I have to provide the ID also. So if I say ID is 1 and that's it, click on send. It's not accepting, because this time it says some other thing. What is the next error? Next error says that, hey, no default constructor for entity. So if we go to the entity, that means the customer class, we have created a constructor when we start the customer, when we instantiate the customer with some values. But what if we don't want to pass any value? So we need to create another constructor which is just for the what is they call it, default constructor. So this is how we have created a default constructor. Now we have created the default constructor. Let's see if it is reloaded. Yes, the application is reloaded, and click on send once again. And congratulations, you can see now we have this Sarthak with the ID of 1 and the email is, everything is there. Now what if I want to create another one? Click send, another is created. So these are created. And can we get all? Because we already have one more get mapping for getting all the customers, but we are not using the repository. So let's use the repository to fetch all the customer whatever we have created in our database. Let's work on this in the next video. Okay, in the last video we have created 2 times the same data on the database, which is H2 database, which is an in-memory database. Now we want to see if we have really created the data or not. For that, we have this all method where we are creating the new customer manually, which is not true. So let's change from this type of thing to repository dot find all. And when I say find all, it's not just a single customer, it's going to be a list of customers. So in that case, we need to change the return type for the all method for get mapping. We can say this is a list. And list of what? List of customer. Okay, now you can see there is no error and this is going to work. So let's see if it is restarted. I think it's restarted. So I will change it to get method in the insomnia / customer is the get mapping. Click on send and we are getting nothing. Why is that? See, here it is, server is restarted, but we are not getting anything. Let's try to create once again. 2 times I have created, but when I try to get it, I get only 1. Once again, let's try. Okay, so I'm creating, but the JPA repository is so nice that it detects that, hey, this data is already inside your database and I'm not going to create another one. So it's only having 1 data in the database. But if you really want to have 2, just change the ID to 2. And this time we have 2 data in the database with the ID of 1 and ID of 2. Let's click on get once again. And this time you can see we are getting this 2 times. That's really great. But we never want to create the ID manually. ID should be automatically incremented. It should be auto increment thing. So how we can do that? Instead of passing the ID from here, we can make this automated. How? Let's go on the customer entity or customer class. Whenever we define the ID, we have the ID field. We can use another annotation for generate value. What this is doing? This is actually going to use the generate value thing, and whenever something need a new ID field, it's going to create a random or a incremented ID starting from 1, then 2, 3, 4, something like that, and we will have. Now the server is restarted. That means we lose all the data we have on the database because it's an in-memory database. It's just normal database. So we need to create the database once again and using the post method. With this post method, you can see we are not providing any ID. Now if I click on send, I get with the ID of 1. That's really cool. When I send it again, we get the ID of 2. Something like that. If we are keep on clicking this, we have created 17 data in our database, which is in memory H2 database. Let's click on this post to change it to get and see, do we really have 17 data? Click on send and boom, you can see we have all 17 data available in our database, which is in memory database, and everything is done. This is so nice that I'm really loving this Spring Boot framework, and it's following all the great patterns with all the things, and it's so easy to create the HTTP request, the REST API. Some of the important things are remaining, which is deleting a customer and the updating. Let's work on delete in the next video. And after this, we need to work on deleting our customer from the database. So see, we have a lot of customer, although all are available, but once we restart the server, everything will be gone. But let's start with the delete mapping. So delete mapping is useful when we want to delete any data with the delete method. So I just want to delete a customer, but how we will identify that this customer I want to delete? We have a unique identifier called ID. So instead of just saying customer, we just say that customer / the ID of the customer. And after that, we will create a method called delete. But inside this, since we want to get the ID, we want something like this, a request mapping kind of thing. But this is not a request, this is the URI thing. This is on our URL. So we can get it by path variable. And what is the path variable? Path variable is going to be the ID. What is the type of the ID? It's going to be long. And then we can just implement it, and we can say return repository dot delete by ID, and passing the ID, and that's it. But what it's going to return, we will see that it's going to return nothing, and that's how we said that void. But since this is returning nothing, so we don't want to say return. It's a void method which is not doing anything. Okay, so we have created it. Let's see, do we have the server restarted? I think yes. If we check the data, we see that we don't have anything in our database because server is restarted. So let's first create 2-3 customers. So 4 customer is created. So if I say get method, we have all the 4. Let's try to delete the second customer. So I will go and select the customer, select the delete, and then we say customer /4. Let's say 2, actually 2 for this ID. Let's click on send, and it says that no response is returned from this request. But now if we try to get the customer and click on send, you will see we are not having the second customer with the ID of 2. We have 1, 3 and 4. That means we have successfully able to delete our customer from our database. That's really nice. But what if we really want to get the information of only single customer? Let's work on that also. In that case, we want to create a get mapping for /customer, but this time I want to give the ID, so that for that particular ID I want the name and email and all other information I have. So similar to this delete mapping, I'm going to create a get method where on this get mapping I'm going to say path variable is a long ID, but this time it's going to return something. So I will say return repository dot get by ID and pass the ID. And since this is going to return our customer, we need to say, hey, return type is customer. And why it's crossed? It says it's deprecated. So what is the solution? Is there any solution for this? Anyways, it says get by ID is deprecated. So what I have in the get, okay, nothing is there, but let's try and see get by ID. So this time I will say customer, but /1, I want to get the information of first customer, the customer with the ID of 1. Let's click on send, and we get some error, unable to find customer with the ID of 1. Is this because of the deprecated thing? Let's see. So what exactly we will going to use it? So let's go here, and instead of get by ID, let's say find by ID, because get by ID is deprecated. So we have used the find by ID. Now when we use the find by ID, it says get method return a customer, and there is some problem with this. We will see this, and let's first go to the Insomnia and try to send it. And no message available, not found, something is there. So let's solve this problem. What it actually says, when you go on this bulb, it says that it's not necessary that you will always get some customer when you find by ID. So since we have only 3 customer with the ID of 1, 3 and 4, what if I will try to find the the customer with the ID of 55. How we will going to use this? So it says that, hey, let's make this an optional thing that either you will use it or not. So optional thing for the customer. That's good. Let's try this once again. And is this restarted? Okay, it's restarting and now it's done. Let's try. And it says null, so it's not getting anything. What if I say 2? Okay, I think since we have restarted the server, all the customers are gone, so we need to create the customer. So let's say 5 customer is there. See, all the customers are there. Let's try only customer with the ID of 1, and great, we are getting it. Now real things is here. What if I say with the ID of 11? Now we don't have any customer with the ID of 11 and we are getting null. That is because we have used this optional thing, but I don't like this optional thing. I want to raise an error which says that, hey, this customer with the ID of 1 is not available. How we can do that? Let's see in the next video. Now let's work on handling the exception. And this is an exception that the ID of 11 is not available. So how we can do that? We are having this get mapping for the customer with this path variable of ID, and we said that sometime we get it, sometime not. So that's why the return type is an optional customer. But I don't want this. I always want the customer, or if not available, then throw an error. So for that, I can say dot or else throw, and throwing an exception. Okay, so I'm going to use the lambda expression, which is something like this: a parenthesis, then an arrow, and then our runtime exception like this. And we need to make it new runtime exception. And that's it. We can say, hey, customer with ID, and we can use the string dot format with customer ID %s not found, and the %s will be replaced by the ID. Okay, so let's see this in action. So server should be restarted. If not, just click on this restart button, this one, like here, and it's going to restart our server. And we have missed one closing bracket like this, I think. Click on run the application, and now it's started. Let's go on the Insomnia. In the Insomnia, let's click on send. And this time you can see that we are getting a runtime exception with customer with ID 11 not found, and then other things. This is really good, but we can make this a better thing, because maybe we want this thing many times. So let's create a exception class, and we can call it customer not found exception. And we have created this class, and in this class, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this with runtime exception, because this exception is always going to be raised on runtime. Now I'm going to create a customer not found constructor. Inside this, I'm going to accept the ID, and I will say that the super, that means the constructor of runtime exception, should need this thing. And what it need the exact words which we have written here. So copy everything from here, cut actually, and paste it and save this file. That's good. Now instead of this runtime exception, I will say customer not found exception and passing the ID. That's cool. See that server is going to be restarted, which is here. And now once again click on send, and this time we are getting customer not found exception, customer with the ID not found. right amazing thing. But still we are not doing much thing because we just have added a message here. We still get 500 error. But this is actually a 404 not found. The customer with the 11 ID not found. So how we can make this kind of changes? For this, everything is happening inside the controller. So we need to create a controller advice class, which is going to advise our controller that, hey, whenever this customer not found exception is raised, you have to actually send a 404 error. Okay, so let's create another file called customer not found advice. You can name it anything. And here you need to annotate it with controller advice. Absolutely important. This is a controller advice. And if you want more thing, you can say, hey, it's a REST controller, I think, like REST controller advice. That's cool. Both are going to work, but this is a general. Now, what's going to happen here? Let's create a function or method actually for customer not found handler. This is going to handle. And what's going to happen inside this? We will talk about this very soon, but we need to annotate various things. First, we need to tell to this advisor that, hey, this advisor, you need to advise to the controller only when there is a request. I can say request, oops, not like this, request body, yeah, I think body. So this is going to be in the request body, but when should this advisor is going to advise to the controller? It's only going to advise when exception handler for our exception, which is our customer not found exception dot class. So we said that, hey, you will be going to advise on the request body. You will only going to advise when this exception is raised. Okay. And finally, what should be the response type or response status? So response status is going to be HTTP status dot not found. So HTTP not found, like this. Okay, but we also want to return the error message which this exception is returning. So in this function, in this method, we said that, hey, this is customer not found exception. We call it exception, or you can say ex or just e, whatever you want, and you can say return ex dot message, get message. And since this is going to return a string, we said that, hey, this is a string. Everything is done, but we have some issue on this part. It says you have to remove it, but why I should remove it? This is because it's not a request, it's a response body. So I'm going to tell only when the response body is done. So we have response body, the controller is going to be advised only on the response body. The response status is not found, and it's only going to work on the customer not found exception and all these things. Cool, everything is fine. Server is going to be restarted very soon. If not, you can click, but I think it's restarted only. And now click on send. And customer with the ID of 11 not found with the status of 404 not found. Wow, so amazing, clean and easy to read. What it is, easy to read string, easy to read message we have with this customer not found exception plus customer not found advice, which is really great. Cool. Next, let's move to the next important thing, which is updating the existing customer in our Spring Boot application. It's time for working on the update part. But for the update part, you can see if we go on the Insomnia, we have two methods, which is put and patch. So patch is only available for the storing of the data, but when we use put, yes, we can create the yes, we can update the existing data, but what if the data is not available? So if we try to update, or if we try to send a put request with the ID of 11, if the ID 11 found, then yes, we update it, but if not found, we create it. Okay, let's do these things in this episode. So first, we will go on the controller, because now we are expert. So we can go to the controller and we can create another put mapping with a capital P, remember this, put mapping on slash customer slash ID. So as we know, when we have this kind of ID from the URL, then we need to create like what I can call it, update. Yeah, it's okay. So update method is going to have a path variable, and this is going to be a long ID. And now become the interesting part. First, we need to find it by the ID. So let's say repository dot find by ID. So we pass the ID. Now when we get the customer by using the find by ID, then we say, hey, let's do the map. Now what is the map will going to do? Map is going to iterate over all the fields, and then we can do something on each field and return all the collection once again. So how it's going to look? So I say customer is going to have with this you can say arrow function or whatever you call lambda expression basically, then use this curly braces, and then I say customer dot name, or actually set email first, is going to be from the data we are sending. Now how we get the data? Whenever we want to get the data, just like we do on the post mapping, where is that post mapping? Yeah, like here, post mapping, we say we need a request body. So put is a really amazing thing, because in this we also do the request body, where we get the customer as a updated customer or new customer like this, and then you can use this new customer to update the email dot get email. So we said that, hey, customer dot set email, that means existing customer, if found as existing customer, setting the email by using the data we are sending and getting the email. So after this we just say return the customer, because we have modified the customer on this map, and then just return it. Okay, so let's return each and everything, and we know that this all thing is going to return the customer. So I say, hey, its return type is customer. Now we have some issue here. Let's see what's that. On this it says make update retrieve optional. Once again, because we will not always going to have the customer with some ID, this is say that, hey, this should be a optional thing. Okay, this is done. Let's try to update some of the details we have. So let's create some user or some customer in our database. Send 1 2 3, and now this time I'm going to use the put method, and I will say that, hey, on the third customer with the ID of 3, let's change the name from Sarthak to, let's say, Manpreet, and it's going to be manpreet at bitfilms.com. Now click on send, and now you can see only the email is updated, because we said that we only going to change the customer email. Let's do the same thing for set name and get name. Now this time it's going to update both of the things. So let's do the same thing, but do we really have all the customers, or we lose everyone? Yeah, we lost. So let's create with, let's copy this one and change it with the Sarthak So 4 is created. Now let's update once again the third one with this Manpreet and Manpreet at bitfumes.com. Let's click on send, and you can see the ID 3 is now updated with the name and the email of Manpreet and Manpreet at bitfumes.com. Really amazing, cool. But what if I say that, hey, I need a ID of 5. Okay, now with a 5 ID, if I send the detail, it's returning null because we know this is an optional thing. So what we have to do, we just have to say dot or else get, because this time we are getting, and what we want to create new customer. So let's use once again the lambda expression, and inside that we know we just return repository dot save, and saving with the new customer details. But this time what we want the customer ID to be the ID which user has sent. So I say customer ID dot set ID with the ID which they have sent, the user has sent. Okay, so this time since we have tackled all the problem, like all the issues, like if customer with the ID of given ID is not found, we have tackled that situation. That means it's not a optional thing now. It's always going to return the customer, like here. That's good. So you can see it's really nice. And this time with the 5, actually I once again need to check if we have all these. No, we don't have. We need to create it. 1 2 3. 3 is created. Now on the put, let's change this one to Sarthak. Let's change this one to Sarthak. Yes. So let's update the third one from Manpreet at bitfumes.com to Sarthak at bitfumes.com. But what if I say with the ID of 5? Now see the magic. I'm going to change Manpreet. Okay, now you will see. If I click on send, you can see we are getting a new customer with the ID of 4, which should not be there, but it's okay. Let's try to see what we have. And yeah, we have all the 4 things. So this is how we use the put method or put mapping in our Spring Boot application. Really amazing to see how easy it gets when you understand the concept. Okay, let's move to the next amazing thing in Spring Boot application. When we are done with all the CRUD operation for the RESTful API we have created, it's now time for moving from in-memory database, which is a H2 database, to a MySQL database. How we can do that? But first we need a MySQL database for that. Let's go on the terminal and let's log into the MySQL and just say create database called let's say Spring Boot DB. Spring Boot DB. Cool. With a semicolon, let's run it. And it says that, hey, you can not use the hyphen. Okay, Spring _boot _DB. Done. Now we can say use Spring _boot _DB, and we have used that. That means now whatever we will do inside this Spring Boot. And I say select. First I can see what tables we have inside this Spring Boot DB. So I say show tables, and it says that, hey, it doesn't have any table. Now let's add the connection to the Spring Boot for our MySQL. For that we will go to the POM, and then instead of this H2 database, I'm going to remove this H2 database fully from here, and I want to add the MySQL. But how we will add? I don't know what I have to search. And that's why the Spring Initializer is really helpful. Click on add dependency and search for MySQL. And when you have it, just click on explore and you will get that how and what exactly you need to write. So dependency of MySQL connector Java, right? Paste this one right here, and when you do this, remember to reload your Maven if you haven't done. Cool. Now my dependency for MySQL is done. How I will tell to our Spring Boot application that what database we are using, what is the username and password for MySQL connection. For that, remember, you need to create this resources directory. If not available, you can create it. So I can show you how you can create it, because there is a really nice way. This IntelliJ IDE is really helpful. So on the main, remember, this is very important. On this main directory, just right click and click create a new directory. When you say creating a new directory, IntelliJ is really smart and say that you are on a Maven project and Maven need this kind of directory in your main directory. So double click and you will get this resources directory available. Now inside this resources directory, you need to create a file which is called application.properties. Here we will set all our configuration. Inside this file, you need to add a lot of things, and I have everything available. So first thing is, let's see, spring.jpa.hibernate.dll auto. So this is some Hibernate related thing. Then spring.datasource.url. What is the data source? So this is the exact data source. But after this, we have MySQL, the host, which is localhost, the port. But what is the exact DB name? So our DB name is spring_boot_db. So this is a really important thing. Then what is your username? In my case, the username is root. And what is your password? In my case, the password is not available. That means password is null. Everything is fine. And make sure you put the root, the username and the password according to your configuration of MySQL. As soon as you're done with this, just close this file and make sure to restart your application. So you can restart from here, from this button, or you can go to the customer application, click on this green button, click on stop and run again. So it's going to restart your application with all the things you need for MySQL. Once this is done, what we will see is, first let's go to the MySQL and check for tables. As soon as you go here, you can see we have a customer table and we have a Hibernate sequence table. So let's see, do we have something inside the customer table? So let's say select everything from customer. No, we don't have anything. Then what about this Hibernate sequence? It says only one. That means maybe it's related to the how many tables you have. So one. Cool. So we don't have anything in the customer. Let's create some customer from Insomnia we have. Not here. Insomnia. Okay. Here we are. And we know it's going to be post request to create new details. So I will say it's going to be the sarthak@bitfumes.com. And here we are. Now I want to say I want with Manpreet details. Yep. Click. So we have two data in our MySQL database. So once again, let's see, select everything from customer table. And yeah, we have these two details, email, ID and name. Amazing. In this way, we can get all our customers. And yes, we can see we have this customer. Next, let's try to get only one customer with the ID of 1. Yes, that's also possible. Now let's try to delete with the first one. Delete. Yep, it's deleted. Let's try to fetch all. Everything is working. And finally, I want to change something inside this. So Manpreet, let's say Singh. Okay. And click on send. I said put, and it says that put request is not available because we need to define the ID, and ID is 2 for this customer, and click, and yes, it's updated. And what if I say ID 1 with the detail of Sarthak? So I said with the detail of Sarthak, ID 1, we know that ID 1 is not available. Let's just quickly verify that ID 1 is not available. Yes. And if we do the put thing and with the ID of 1, yes, ID is created, actually ID 3. So it's actually an auto increment. This is already happened with us, and you can see now ID 2 and 3 is available with all these things. Cool. So this is how we can connect our Spring Boot application with the MySQL data. All the CRUD part, every REST thing is there and everything is working. Wow, so amazing.